And welcome, fellow quarantinees or quarantiners.
Hey, everybody.
So, it is Tuesday, April 7th, 2020, and we are currently at 1.4 million infected. I guess I should be more precise. 1,425,932 coronavirus cases. So,
How many do you have? You have one. You have 1.4.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. 1.4.
Are you using the worldmeters.info or what are you using?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
A world meter. So nearly 82,000 deaths.
So what
worldwide.
do you think is this website making right now? Like from all these banner ads that you see, like.
Dude.
They have
Yeah.
one at the top.
Yeah, they're raking it in, man. I want to know where they're pulling the figures from. Some of this stuff is automated. They just take like an average people who die and then
they have one at the bottom too. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, right now. So brief introduction for everybody who's tuning in. This is the Quarantiners podcast with Darko, Chris, and Ben. And we talk about a variety of topics several times a week. And today we got a few topics to talk about, kind of what's going on in the world, and obviously we kind of started off here with the coronavirus and where it's at worldwide, which, as Darko mentioned, is 1.4 million cases with 82,000 deaths. Just today, there has been 7,300 new deaths just today. So whatever is going on it's starting to, I don't want to say ramp up, because a lot of people think it's kind of starting to taper off or plateau, but it's whatever's going on has caused the vast majority of the world to take pause and to work from home, and thus the birth of the Quarantiners. And that's how Darko and I came about, and an opportunity to get together at least a couple times a week and talk about whatever we want. So, Darko, what's on your mind, man?
No, I mean, first, I like that introduction, and it just made me think. Like, we as Earth should probably make a sign, that says like Earth is currently in a, reparation mode. If you think about it from like,
for real, right?
Shut down for reparations. So yeah. So one topic that we kind of came up with today is wine. And other alcohol, but for the most part, wine. We kind of both love wine, and I know that Ben has some French wine over there going, and we were discussing different types of wine from different types, from different countries, and I guess I'll kick it off. So I like to drink wine, every once in a while, and I grew up in Europe, in Montenegro. We have really good wine over there, but I really started to appreciate wine once I saw this documentary called, I think it's called Som, and it's about the test for for becoming the master sommelier, and apparently it's one of the hardest tests in the world that you can take. And there's a theoretical part, there's a theory part, and then there is a more practical part where you're given, I believe, 6 different glasses of wine, 3 reds and 3 whites, and you have to, you're in front of the judges, and you have to try each wine, and you have to guess. I guess not guess, like you have to know where from which winery essentially is this wine coming from, and it can be anywhere around the world. And I'm not exactly sure about the criteria. It's been a while since I've seen the documentary. Like, do you have to guess correctly, every 6, glasses of wine? But apparently, it's super hard because you really have to have a good palate for it. And
it's got to be really tough, right, to pick the wine.
Absolutely, I don't think I have imagine you really need to be able to pick up the the different flavors in the wine, which is it's hard. Like you in that it was crazy when I was watching that documentary. This guy said, "Oh, I can taste a freshly open can of tennis balls." Like, I mean, how can you it's crazy. Like, he's picking up these flavors from the wine, and it was pretty impressive. But they know exactly because apparently wine is picking up all these different flavors from air and soil, and it becomes concentrated in the grapes, and you can actually pick up flavor. So it can be anything like the surrounding that wine, and also a lot of that flavor can come from the barrels that the wine is kept in. For example, the oak barrels. But but you wanted to discuss some specific Italian wine, right?
Yeah, I can touch on some wines. What was the documentary you watched on wine?
I think it's called Somm. You know what? Let's look it up.
Like sommelier, like short for sommelier, whatever.
Yeah. Let me pull it up on Wikipedia. Let's see. Let me share my screen.
So I had pork tonight, pork tenderloin with baked carrots and rice with drizzled with chimichurri sauce over top of it, and with it I had a wine, which is how all of this came up. Somm. Interesting font choice for the title.
I know.
I'm not sure if it looks more like a horror movie than it does like a documentary. Right? Yeah.
I know.
I'm like, wait a second. Is this about lying or is this about murdering somebody?
Yeah, it does look a little bit. Yeah. But it's actually an interesting, an interesting movie, and
Dallas, Texas.
It's kind of like, I mean, this whole thing I think started in Europe, right? And then it became part of the United States, and I from my experience, the United States has really good wine as well. Napa Valley wine, and But Europe is much older when it comes to producing wine, which I don't think that necessarily makes you better. Like, still,
of course,
use technology. But there are some wineries over there that are very old, and they actually pride themselves in having mold growing, in their
really?
barrels of wine and stuff. And
I was unaware of this. They pride themselves in the mold that grows in the barrels of the wine.
They have they have mold. They have literally like fungi growing in the in the cellar. So let me see. Let me see if I can find this.
That's crazy. So I'll talk a little bit about while you're looking for that. Tell me when you find it. Actually, I think it probably won't take you too long to find it.
Let's see.
What in Europe that are completely vacant? They're not in the U.S. and you have literally no idea about them until you go over into Europe, when you realize, like, oh, look at all these other grape varieties that we don't have the luxury of trying because it's not well, it's not popular in the U.S. and another big reason is perhaps they don't have a giant crop, giant harvest like they do with some of the other grapes.
Yeah, no. Let me just see. So, is this it? If I can't find it right now, I'm just gonna look for it later. But I think I saw it. I think this some documentary. There's like there are two parts, and I think it was in the second part where I saw this. And I think they're making a third part too. So, yeah, what were you saying?
I was saying, so like when the wife and I went over to Italy and France, what we noticed was there were a variety of wines that we didn't even know existed, right?
Yeah.
And some of those wines we got to try. We got to go to a vineyard in Tuscany and try a few of them. One of them we tried was a grape. Now this one's interesting because I think I have a bottle from 2001. It's 2020 right now. So it's a 19-year-old bottle. I don't know if it's going to be good because from what I understand, this wine is better enjoyed when it's younger. And that wine is called Chile Jolo. Chile Jolo means basically cherry. And the reason they call it cherry is because of the bright red color. And it's also low tannin grape, meaning it doesn't have a lot of acidity to it. And I kind of gravitate towards these wines because they're a lot easier to drink. And mine would be something called Grenache. But just on this product region, you can tell like there's no other region in the world that this grape is grown other than Italy, with 1%, and probably not even that grown in the U.S. So this grape is predominantly found in the Tuscany area. I thought it was amazing. And there's actually a funny story. When the wife and I were back to Rome from Tuscany, I had this bottle of wine of Chile Jolo and on our way back, I slipped, and the Chile Jolo, my favorite wine, fell from my hands, hit the sidewalk, and exploded in front of me. And it was heartbreaking because we only bought one bottle of each. And this being my favorite, I was like, oh, now we're not going to go back to the hotel until we search all of Rome for a bottle of Chile Jolo. So, so we went to like maybe 3 or 4 wine shops throughout Italy looking for a bottle, and we finally found one, and it happened to be from 2001. My wife is pregnant at the moment, so when she's not pregnant, we will open this bottle up and enjoy it, kind of take us back to this moment when we were in Italy and kind of enjoy that. But yeah, so this is one of the first breeds of wine I kind of wanted to talk about. Have you ever heard of Chile Jolo? Is that something that comes into Montenegro at all?
Possibly. I have not tried it. So is it more like how would you describe it? Is it dry? Is it sweet? How would you describe it?
It's a really good question. I don't think I would really describe it as sweet per se, but it's not super dry. It's like really it's right in the middle of the park. I'll show you another wine here that's really dry in a second. But let's just read this. Yeah. It is like Cabernet, but it's a little bit softer. It's a little bit softer.
It's like a blend or something.
It's
yeah, maybe not like a blend. But.
Yeah, not necessarily a blend because it's literally only one grape. But here, this is what they say about Chile Jolo is how you pronounce it. This is on wine-searcher.com. So Chile Jolo is a red grape variety of central, northwestern Italy, something of an obscurity in past decades, but are now undergoing a renaissance in Liguria and its spiritual home, Tuscany. It's now used increasingly. So it's actually, and that's one of the things that was interesting. It's actually a grape often used in red blends. But if you find a bottle where it's just Chile Jolo, it gives you a completely different flavor palette than if it was in a blend. So I'm trying to find if it talks a little bit more about the flavors here. The grape comes from Italian word for cherry, which we talked about. It resembles the color and the aroma. Its character has prompted a vine renaissance, as the variety brings a certain freshness and liveliness to the character of heavy wines. In a world that increasingly demands early drinking wines, but which are nonetheless full of character, Chile Jolly grapes have provided an excellent addition to the wines that would otherwise need cellaring. So I wish they talked a little bit more about the flavor, the charm of Chile Jolo. It's one of my favorite, man. I wish.
Oh, it sounds delicious.
Yeah,
Chile
yeah.
Jolo, like, you know.
When Danny and I crack open into that bottle, we'll have to have you and Kayla come over and share it with us, because it's one of those, one of the grapes that I really like. It's my favorite. And I might be romanticizing it a tidbit because I was in Italy, you know.
No,
it's natural.
No, let's try it out, definitely.
Yeah. What about you?
Have you tried this wine that I brought from Montenegro? It's so there's this place, and you know it's a magical place. You know, it's like out of you know those tales. You know, it's this valley that's it's a deep valley, and you know, during winter, like it's.
This is the wine that your dad brought back.
It could be. He brings, you know, a couple of bottles like every time.
Yeah.
But awesome. Yeah. So this wine specifically, you know, this vineyard is at the bottom of this valley, and like the bottom of this valley has this sub-Mediterranean climate, while this is actually in the mountains, and you know, it's snowing there, but like it's snowing only on the mountains surrounding this valley, and like at the bottom there's no snow. Like if it's snowing, it's so odd. Like there's snow on the mountains surrounding this valley, but there's no snow at the bottom. So the wine, you know, the vineyard is they're able to sustain this vineyard, and because of, you know, the specific you know, the specific geography, this is actually considered to be the smallest wine region in Europe, just because of the specific geography. And one other reason why it's so recognized is because during the Austrian, you know, Hungarian Empire, which was, you know, happening late 19th and early 20th century. You know, they were they had like they would bring this wine from this vineyard. They would bring it to the Austro-Hungarian castle. And one thing that Austro-Hungarians were very famous about, they were documenting everything. Like they were documenting every little thing. And you know, it's a funny story because you have this part of you know, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Well, in Herzegovina, you had a lot of guys that were, you know, all that area was under the Austro-Hungarian, and you had a lot of guys that thought it would be funny if they, you know, when Austro-Hungarians came by to take, you know, to document, you know, who lives there, document everyone, you know, they would give them fake names, and they would give, you know, names like, you know, like funny names, you know, like a jackass, you know, like say that's my surname, jackass. They documented it, so till this day, those people have those surnames. Like those are their surnames.
No way.
Yes, it is. So you know, there's you know, Mark Jackass. You know, it's so funny, but yeah.
Robert,
but anyway, to go back to my point, like they pulled up this documentation, and you know, this winery was not, you know, well known until, you know, I mean, in this century it wasn't well known until they pulled this documentation, you know, a couple of years back. I'm not sure how many years back exactly, But they pulled up this documentation, and they decided to take this wine and enter it in the competition. And this wine won the gold medals, like multiple gold medals. They have a couple different types of wine, and they also have rakia, which we can talk about. It's a very good type of brandy.
Definitely want to talk about that.
But specifically, there's this one wine called Žilavka, and Žilav in Montenegrin language means resilient, specifically physically resilient. And this wine, because it's a white grape, and it's super resilient. In order to survive, for that wine to survive in that climate, it has to be super resilient. And that wine is very specific. It's as you said, like, I cannot describe it. I'm not a sommelier, nowhere close. But
the name?
It's very strong. Žilav. So how about I pull up some photos of
Do it. That'd be great. So we can so we can see the name and maybe where it's grown.
So this winery is called Vinaria Dabović, and I apologize if I'm butchering the story. I probably am. Haven't said this story many times in English, but yeah. So
who's ever listening will have no idea anyway. So this is good.
Yeah. So they have one wine called Serdar, but this is Žilavka wine. And
you say Sri Lanka?
Žilavka.
Ah.
Yeah. Sri Lanka.
I was like, Sri Lanka. Interesting. I didn't know the Indians liked wine.
That's how it looks like. I mean, you can't really, the photos don't do the justice. You see how kind of,
that's a beautiful photo.
Yeah, the color of it. So
wow.
This is Serdar. Yeah, so this past summer we actually went there, Kayla and I and our families, and we had an amazing time. The family that lives there is amazing. But yeah, maybe I'll ask them to come and talk to on our podcast one day. When we become famous, maybe they'll agree to.
Well, I think it's a good start. We'll just invite them.
They have a restaurant that's really nice. It's really nice. It's really cool. I wish I could find better photos right now, but yeah, super hospitable people. But yeah, I love the wine, but they also had rakia. And,
show the name. Show the name one more time of that wine. How you spell it?
So
I should have written it down.
Let me show you.
Yeah.
So the winery is called Vinaria Dabović. And
how do you say it? Vinaria?
Vinaria means winery. And Dabović,
I love it.
Yeah. And Dabović is a surname. And it's another thing that I like about it, it's such a small operation. And this wine, it's very hard to buy because, it's a small valley and you don't have much space to produce a lot of wine. So it's very limited, the amount of wine that you can purchase there. That you can purchase is limited. So, it's definitely a treat, being able to, but yeah, Žilavka, you can see.
And that's the name there, Žilavka?
Yeah, that's the name of the white wine.
How do you pronounce it?
Žilavka. So you pronounce
Žilavka.
Z as Ž. We have Z and Ž. Z and Ž.
Your internet's kind of going in and out.
Is it better now?
Žilavka. Žilavka.
You got it, man.
Perfect. Dude, I'm already Montenegrin.
Yes, you are.
Vinaria Dabović, Žilavka.
There you go, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember when you guys had my wife in over. Maybe it was just me. I can't remember if it was both of us or not, but I definitely remember the Žilavka and having that with you and your dad. That was a good time.
Yeah.
That was a
so
special
do you remember
moment.
the time when my brothers were here and we had rakia? You had rakia for the first time?
Dude, rakia, man. Now tell us about rakia. What exactly is rakia for those who don't know? Because it's one of those things that when you brought some over for my housewarming party, I would sip on it every once in a while, and there's nothing like it. You can't there's nothing in the U.S. that can come flavor and the texture of what it is. It's really good.
Yeah. So I hate to compare it to vodka because it's nothing. Vodka is different. Vodka is made out of potatoes.
Yeah, exactly.
But this brandy is made out of so it's clear, very clear, like vodka. But this is made actually out of grapes.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a similar method. So it's a method where the grapes are. You know what? Let's look up how it's made.
I like that idea.
Honestly, yeah, maybe we can try
the
to
internet.
ourselves.
Well, we got the internet. Let's pull it up and check it out because it's one of those things I don't know about, and I know the alcohol percentage has to be a lot higher than normal alcohol.
It's 50%. Yeah. So let's see.
It's not too much higher.
Yeah, it's not super.
Yeah.
High. How to make rakia? Let's see. All right, I pulled up a video. All right. So there's a guy. Slivovica.
Have you had this? Have you had it? So you know what I'm talking about. Slivovica.
Slivovica, yep. So you put these things to the bin.
Let me just show it real quick. Oh, okay. So a plastic carboy. And those are grapes?
Yeah.
Man, that dude looks like he's from Montenegro.
But this guy is talking in an English accent. I think from UK.
Oh, is he? He just
Can you hear the?
Or is he making his own?
So he's doing a fermentation process right now. There's a dog. So here they're fermenting them. So
we're gonna have to work on your internet.
He's using like yeah, he's just pressing it. Just looking it up. Yeah, I'm not sure how accurate this is, but my understanding was like that you take this and you boil it. And, you know what? I'm gonna have to. It's embarrassing that I don't know. You know that.
Hey, it's one of those things that, I mean,
but it's how you make brandy.
People don't know.
Like, how do you make brandy really? Like, it's essentially a brandy. And
I mean, it's one of those things. I bet there's got to be a graph or something.
Yeah, you know what? That's why we're here. Let's research.
So, I'll let you research that, and then I'll go ahead and share another wine, not to derail us, but to kind of give us a filler here while you're talking and looking for a process for making rakia. But one of the other wines that I had came across, the wife and I, when we were in Rome and Tuscany area, mainly basically just Rome, was Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, and it's I was told it's a very drinkable wine. That's how the lady had described it, and it is. It's kind of a lower end price point, so it's affordable, but it's delicious. It's a really good wine, plum scented Italian red, as it's called. Grown in the Abruzzo region, I believe that's how you pronounce it. But this was I mean, literally 100% of it is made in Montepulciano, which must be the state, and then Abruzzo must be like the city or the region. But so that was one of them. Here you go. Look at that. It literally says it right here. I don't know if you can see this or not.
Yep.
It's called a plum grape, which gives good yields of easy drinking wine. It is popular with producers and consumers alike. That's exactly what she said it was, an easy drinking wine. And she couldn't have, described it in a better way. Low acidity, which again, I'm really starting to like low acid soft, unobtrusive tannin wines. Wines like Grenache, which is another wine, probably within my top 3 favorite wines. This is a Spanish wine, and this is really, really good, and a little bit more popular as far as like where it's at, right? Vast majority, Spain, France, US, Australia, Italy, and then other countries, right? South Africa and others. So grown in Sardinia, where the Grenache grape is known or grown. One of the best. Let's see if it describes here. Most widely planted in southern Rhone. So it's also planted in France. Second most planted red wine grape variety, surpassed by Tempranillo. Yeah, it's an amazing wine, man. It's really good. Actually, the first time I ever had it was with a Sermo employee.
Really?
Yeah, man. Do you remember the guy that was from Spain?
Oh yeah. He still works here. Stefan.
Stefan, man.
Yeah.
Stefan introduced me to Grenache.
Yeah. I was just communicating with him the other day.
You'll have to tell him that I said hi and tell him I said thank you for introducing me to Grenache. He also introduced me to B&B, Burgundy and Bourbon, which is a drink, and it was served hot with a napkin inside to contain all the vapors. And then when you get ready to drink it, you take the napkin off, and the snifter, I think it is called, you bring it up to your nose, and you smell it. Woo! It hits you. Yeah. The vapors hit you. It's a fun little experience. But he was the one that told me about that as well. I'll never forget that though, man.
Like a digestive, right?
What's that?
It's like a digestive. Do they call it?
Yeah, digestive. Yep.
Yes, digestive.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I remember that very day. I know exactly where we were at, and it was his recommendation. I was like, I've never even heard of this thing, and then I tried it, and I was like, this is phenomenal. This is a great wine. So since then, this has been definitely one of my best, one of my top favorite drinks of wine here. Rich, spicy berry flavors, and interestingly enough, this sentence here says, however, old vine Grenache grown in schist or stone, such as in Prieuré or Châteauneuf de Pape, can produce profoundly concentrated wines capable of aging for many decades. So that's an interesting segue, because the last wine I wanted to talk about tonight, which is the wine that I had with my pork tenderloins and chimichurri sauce, is something called Châteauneuf de Pape, and it's a French wine. Buddy of mine who worked at a wine store here in Charlotte was the one that actually introduced me to this wine. It's actually grown in a region in France called Châteauneuf de Pape, and just to kind of, from my understanding, it means night castle in French. But let's make sure I'm not full of it. Châteauneuf.
I think you need to separate. I think if you separate chateau, so after, yeah.
Newcastle. That's what it means. So it means I think maybe de Pape is like the house, the Pope's Newcastle. There you go. So there's the story behind the name, the Newcastle of the Pope, and it's in a region of France. Another low tannin, juicy, jammy red fruit flavors. With high potential alcohol. It's a great wine. After Grenache, the next most important varieties next to Châteauneuf are Syrah and Mourvedre. Mourvedre, how do you say that one? Mourvedre?
I'm saying Mourvedre. I'm using my French right now. But yeah, I just learned that neuf means new. I mean, I thought that nouveau means new, and nouveau for masculine and nouvelle for feminine. But you learn something.
Yeah, I thought this meant new. but I guess it means nephew.
It's crazy. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about French anymore today.
Oh, that's how you spell nouveau. You drop. Oh, actually,
Yeah.
no. It's this.
Yep.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, I guess. Yeah. Never mind. Um. So
But yeah,
that's awesome.
that's
I
the last
tried
wine.
that wine, and that wine is amazing.
Yep.
That wine is freaking amazing. It's I like how dynamic it is.
Yeah,
At least
it's a good way of saying it.
You can drink it. But that's the thing is, with
Are you there?
dynamic wine. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, break. I don't know if it's me. I think it might be you. How many bars you got, bro?
I think it's been me the whole day. Like I had problems during meetings, and stuff. But only in the afternoon for some reason.
Tell Kayla to get off of Wi-Fi.
No, I'm sure it's been it's something. It's not it's spectrum, doing something. But yeah, hopefully this doesn't continue until tomorrow because I do not like internet. Slow internet.
No, nobody does.
I'm more cool with no internet than slow internet.
Yeah, there's something really disturbing about like when you're going on a run, and you have headphones in, and it like.
I'm losing you.
Uh-oh.
You're back on. You're back on. Keep on going.
Okay.
You have your headphones in.
Your headphones are in. I wonder if I can turn down the lights. Maybe that'll help. Maybe it's just too. Oh, that didn't help, did it?
No, that's fine.
A little creepy.
Turn off my light.
Yeah. Bad internet's worse than no internet. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, man. So we talked about Veneria, Dabovic, Żuławka, Chateauneuf de Pape. Talked about Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. Talked about Grenache.
One thing about
Nebbiolo.
Żuławka that I didn't mention is that it's so easy to drink. Like you don't feel it's like it's very easy. Like it definitely feels like you're drinking wine, but you just keep on drinking it, and you don't know how much you drank until you
Until it hits
start until you start getting up.
Yeah.
And then you
And then
just
when you get
realize,
up, you go back down.
you're like, wait, I'm glued to this chair. I think I had too much.
Yeah.
But,
Does it rakia like? It doesn't mean water, does it?
Rakia.
That's vodka.
No. Vodka might mean water in Russian. I'm not 100% sure. We say voda.
Rakia. I don't know.
Rakia. I think that it just means rakia. But vodka. Yeah. I mean, we say voda for water. So vodka. It could mean something. I've heard that like vodka, pure. I guess pure vodka that's made out of potatoes doesn't have much, much taste to it. So it's like very dangerous because you can drink so much of it, and you can get very easily drunk on it. And it's definitely. I don't think it's good for you if you drink a lot of it. I'm sure it's not good for you. I bet a lot of Russians that are drinking vodka a lot. Do not live for a long
Maybe.
I didn't know.
It's funny because they actually say in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, rakia is produced in Yugoslavia. It's a brandy made in Yugoslavia.
Yeah. Well,
and Yugoslavia doesn't exist anymore, right?
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's an old definition.
Yeah. So they need to.
Yeah, they do. They're paying
20 years. 20 years.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're being a little.
They could say something like that, but yeah.
Yugoslavia.
Yeah, I don't think I have any at all. I mean, I think at the last rocket I brought to your place, but yeah, next time I get some in. Either the next time I go to Europe and come back, or my brothers or my parents come. Let's definitely have some.
That'd be awesome. So, hey, on that note, let's talk about one thing too. I want to talk about something I heard a lot of today, and that's the Balkans.
Yeah.
I didn't know the Balkans was an area.
Yep. So
So,
there is a Balkan. So it's just like Italy and Spain. So if you look
yep.
at Europe, you see that Italy and Spain are, um, you can call them peninsulas. You can see that they are kind of, yeah, they're peninsulas. And there's a name for, I believe, and it's been so long since I even thought about this, but I think that the Spanish peninsula, the area where Spain and Portugal are, it's called, I think, um, gosh, what is it called? It's a peninsula and it has a name.
I know it's not a country, but let's see if we can find it.
I've never even searched it. Iberian Peninsula. That's what it's called.
Iberian Peninsula. Landmass. Oh, here it is.
Yep.
Wow, that's kind of a cool map.
Yeah, and then I know that Italy is so there's a chain of mountains called I think it's called Apennines, in English. It would be like Apenninian Peninsula. That would be Italy, and then there's a mountain in the Balkans called Balkan Mountain, which is, I believe, located in Bulgaria, and that's how we have the name Balkans.
And where was that at? That was like over
Bulgaria.
here?
Yeah, somewhere in Bulgaria.
Gotcha.
So that's how you have the name Balkan Peninsula. So yeah, Europe has those three big peninsulas, and of course, then you have the Scandinavian Peninsula at the top.
The Scandinavian Peninsula. Oh, with Finland and stuff?
Yeah, Finland.
Yeah,
Norway,
Finland, Norway.
Sweden,
Those are my family members.
Yeah, that's the Vikings over there.
Well, a small piece of me is from up there. Let's see. So this, I guess this was considered Yugoslavia back in the day.
Yep.
That's actually a bad image. Let's see if we can find a better one.
There's one with flags that you can kind of figure out there.
Oh. Oh, there we go. That's perfect. Man, I don't even know how to say that other one. Vojvodino. So, Vojvodina, Serbia, and Kosovo. So Vojvodina and Serbia are currently the same country. I'm not sure what's going on over there politically. I'm not sure if Vojvodina is trying to become its own country because Kosovo became its own country. So, I thought that was always, and I'm not trying to get into any politics, but I thought of those three parts were always, Hey man, get into politics. I don't know anything about this area,
so
you kind of know more.
I know for sure is that Montenegro was its own country for thousands of years, and under different names, but it was its own country, and at this point, I think that we can bring some people into this discussion eventually, about the political part. But I will tell you that if this country stayed together, like if all these countries stayed together, we would have an amazing Olympic team. Like if they stayed together. I mean, if you think about it. So let's talk basketball. So I'm a big basketball fan, and I played basketball, so we have an NBA star in at least one NBA star in almost every one of these countries. Like Slovenia has Luka Doncic, which you probably heard of. He's the they're considering him for an MVP. And Serbia has that's Luka Doncic, and he's from Slovenia. He's amazing. He's like, I'm the next LeBron. He's 20 years old, 21 years old, and they're considering him to be one of the best players in the top three, NBA player. It's crazy, but he's super talented. And then you have he's almost averaging the triple double. It's crazy. His second season. Insane.
Every game almost.
No, it's almost average. I think it's like he has like averaging like 30 points, like almost 10 assists, almost 10 rebounds, something like that. Just
That's ridiculous. He is
But
tall though, and you can tell. I mean, he's a
he's
big
a
boy.
point guard. He's a point guard, and he's
What is he?
6'7".
6? Oh my God, that's
6'7".
nasty.
But then you have this guy, Nikola Jokic, who is, who is also in the talks for MVP. And last year he was amazing. And this year he's this tall guy. He's like a 7-footer. So it's Nikola. Yep, that's him. Got it. He's this tall guy that's kind of chubby and slow, but he just has such a very good feel. He has a very good feel for basketball. So yeah, he can just that guy can play. People tend to underestimate him because he's he looks overweight and he's slow, but
he's soft.
He's just way better. He's how you think a bear. Oh, you look, it's a bear. People think there's a lot of. So this is the thing that I read.
Yeah.
You think that the bear is, people think, oh, it's a bear, it's cute, it can't hurt me, but then freaking bear, even a cub can kill it,
Oh yeah.
Okay, and that's people think like this guy, I can handle this guy, but then he drops 30 points and grabs 15 rebounds and dishes like 10 assists in the same game. He had like at least 10 triple doubles in the season.
Damn.
NBA got shut down. But then you have also from Montenegro, you have guy Nikola Vucevic, who's an amazing basketball player too. I think it's Vucevic, so it's VU, and it's with V. Sorry.
Dude, he's huge.
That's Vucevic. F-U, so V-U-C instead of K.
This guy, Vucevic.
Yep, that's the guy.
He's a big boy too, man.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Jeez.
He's Montenegrin, and he's really good too. He has a really good feel for the game. He can shoot pretty well as well, and but if you put, and these are just 3 of the guys. There's a lot more NBA players from from this area that are really really good basketball players. But that's just basketball. Like soccer, that Croatia, they were they were in finale. They were in finals of the World Cup, and they have some of the best players, like soccer players. And then there's a lot of other sports, that are, I know water polo. Like there's no way anyone, like it's almost every water polo tournament in the finals. It's either Montenegro or Croatia or Serbia.
Really?
Yeah, it's like that.
I didn't know that.
So when Montenegro won, I think the European Championship, there were only 82. So listen to this. There were 82 registered water polo players. It's crazy. But yeah.
That's hilarious. That's something I never.
Those guys are animals, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, I believe it, man. You gotta be.
It's not a fun sport. It's I'm not a huge fan of the sport. I think that the good sport if in order to have a good sport, you have to have good rules. And the problem with water polo, you can't really see what's going under the water. Like people are following each other and doing all this stuff. That's why
it's a good point.
It's it's debatable. Is it a good? Of course, but it's my opinion. It's hard to judge. Some things. While, for example, basketball, soccer, all these other sports, you can judge pretty easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that
you gotta be super strong to keep yourself afloat for a long time. That's not easy to do, and then to throw a ball and to fight off defenders and.
Yeah.
That's something that is definitely, it's got to be a tough sport for sure.
Well, you would know because you did wrestling. And you showed off against Brian and me when we did that jiu-jitsu stuff.
I still think you guys are being awfully nice.
No, we're not.
being
So
optimized.
I have like 220, 230 pounds, and I essentially have 50 to 100 pounds on you, and yeah, you just handled me and handled Brian very easily. We tried
Easily,
to do jiu-jitsu
no.
with Ben, by the
I
way,
don't know.
but yeah, we learned a couple lessons there, definitely.
I mean, it's fun, man. I like rolling around, and I know if your house and was on the line, or something even larger, you just, I mean, you're a big boy, and
Yeah.
there's
I
no
realized that it doesn't work that way. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah.
I realized that when you put me in that first armbar. Um, um, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can get real nasty with that sport.
Oh yeah,
I had my
I
arm.
really got into that I think mostly because of Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Like I got into UFC and stuff, and then we started watching all those fights. Like you
Yeah.
also got me into it because we watched. I think we watched. We watched the boxing, of course, Deontay Wilder against Fury, but we also watched a couple of UFC fights. And last one that we watched was Conor McGregor.
Yep.
Against Cowboy, and yeah, that was
45 seconds.
yeah.
Yeah, it was madness, man. I mean, it's a fun sport. I still think some of it. I didn't know this, but apparently Pride does this, and I'm starting to think UFC does this as well. Some fights are real. Some fights have a determined outcome.
Really?
In Pride, yeah.
How?
Yeah, I overheard that this week on a podcast.
Like they like know what's gonna happen. Like they say, okay, you have to lose this one.
Yep.
That's crazy. How do you do that?
You know what? It's one of those. Let me see if I can find a story on it. It's simple. It's very similar to WWF or WWE. In the sense that like, who's gonna win. How you get there and what you do is kind of improvisation until the end. I'll see if I can find more information on it, but nothing's coming up right now. But I think I want to say I heard it on the podcast this week with Joe Rogan and one of his guests. They were talking about how, it was Eric Weinstein, I think, and Joe Rogan. And they were talking about how in other countries, in China in particular, that was like a very prominent strategy, was to basically create this story arc for athletes and for the sport as a whole, and basically have those stories kind of unfold based on the people you want to win. And then they brought up Pride, but yeah, I mean MMA, man. MMA is a great sport. It's hard. It's something I did when I was in high school. I don't think the strength of my lower back would have allowed me to do it in college. My very last year of wrestling, I actually had to quit halfway through because I had exercise-induced scoliosis to a degree to where it was madness, man. Crazy. I initially popped one of my discs out of place doing a front squat, wrestled the entire season on it, which worsened it. And then the following season, my hips had adjusted to compensate for the pain of my lower back. My hips had adjusted so much that my right hip was like 2 inches lower than my left.
Crazy.
And my feet were flat. So my feet were flat on the ground, but my hip had, so that took a lot of physical therapy and chiropractor and electric shock therapy to get my muscles to relax and my back into a good place. But I mean, if it wasn't that, I could have easily wrestled in college and it's a tough sport though, man. I remember eating ice cubes for dinner and lunch, trying to lose weight to get down, but it is, I mean, every boy grows up wrestling, right? You have two brothers.
Yeah.
So I'm certain you guys were always beating each other up and squeezing each other. And,
well, they're a younger brother, so I had it easy.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, but they're, are you bigger than they are?
You know what? My middle brother Wook is pretty big.
Yeah.
And he's a detective, an inspector in the police right now. So he's a scary guy. Yes, he's a scary guy. Maybe I'll ask him if he can become one episode and just talk about his job, because it's very interesting. He has some intriguing stories. I'm not sure if he's allowed to talk about that stuff, but yeah, if he wants to, if he can, I know. Yeah, whoever watches this would be in for a treat, because that guy, he has a very interesting job. And I mean, that guy, he has the image as well. Like, he could be in one of those movies and be one of those intimidating guys. Yeah, definitely.
We gotta have your brothers on.
Now
that you say it.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, if he wrestled with us, I think that he might be able to handle you. But yeah,
easily. Yeah.
That guy is pretty big.
Dude, there's a certain level of meanness too. Like, I wrestled with some guys, and I did some, I went to a few MMA camps, but there are some guys who are just mean, man. Like, they have it in them. Like, they want to inflict pain. To them, it's not a sport. It's like, I want to see this guy cry. and I mean, when I was wrestling with Brian out in the field and I put my forearm into his throat, like, I thought then, when I put my forearm into Brian's throat when we were playing around, I was like, I'm being a little bit mean, but I was nowhere putting any pressure. Like, if I wanted to just like stomp his throat, dude, that's a level of panic that sweeps over you.
What got us is when you were pulling like the neck.
Yeah.
Like when you held the head like on the side like that. That was like, we haven't done that. We haven't seen that before. So we were like, yeah. But no, you learn something new. It's an effective way to get out of some of those situations. Yeah.
It's interesting because one of the cool things about wrestling that carries over into life is, to be really good at wrestling, you have to do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of drills until it becomes muscle memory, right? So that way, when somebody does something, the exact move to get out of it, and it just comes to you, right? So all of that repetition creates this robotic mannerism. But the really good people who are really good at wrestling, how to take what they've learned, still kind of have it, but then completely forget it, and practice kind of an unorthodox style of wrestling.
Oh,
that's
so
where
they
those
make their own thing.
You make your own things. You get creative. You still hold on to the basics and the foundational moves that come with all of it, but doing those head cranks and those throat jabs, like all of that, you're not going to think about after you're training because you never were taught it. So to be able to hold on to that discipline but be creative it's a hard thing to do.
I see what you're saying. So you need to learn, your ABCs. You need to learn the alphabet in order to start writing, and then as you start writing, you become better and better, and then you start writing these novels. It's like, I mean, I think that's a very good point right there. But I think you can draw that parallel in like almost every sport, and probably like, I mean, in a lot of things in life. Definitely, I think that you brought up a very good point there. Just like I mean, basketball, like if you shoot, free throws, or if you shoot 3-point shots, everything, the more you shoot, the more confident you're going to feel, once you step on the, on that basketball court during the game. Especially if you get into that shooter slump where you miss like a couple in a row.
Totally.
What you get there?
No, this goes into a little bit more detail about it, because I really like the topic of this unlearning. right? The first problem for all of us, men and women, is not to learn, but to unlearn, because we're taught what to learn our entire lives. And then we get to a certain point to where you can either hold on to what you've learned, or you can completely disassemble everything you know and then reassemble it, now understanding how to learn, now having a better experience, having a fuller experience of life, and so that'll enrich what you learn. Plus it helps you prioritize and discriminate between certain things. You're like, all right, this is definitely something I think is true. This is definitely something that's not true, or this is something I like. This is something I don't like. All of that, you get way better at it as the older you get. But by the time you're older, you've learned so much that if you don't practice unlearning and getting into that creative piece of it, you become an automaton, you become indoctrinated and stuck in what you were taught as a younger age. So these are some really good quotes, right? The second one is by Antisthenes. The most useful piece of learning for the uses of life is to unlearn what is untrue. And then another one by Larry Niven, half of wisdom is learning what to unlearn. Dude, these are like, there's some depth to these quotes. Transformation is often more about unlearning than learning.
Yeah. My dad, actually, he told me a very good story about, and I think it ties really well into this and into what you were just saying. It's just a story about exactly what you were talking about. So there's a guy that was an old guy that was fishing by the lake, and every day he would go fishing, he would catch anywhere between 1 and 3 or 4 fish a day. And he would go and this lake was very close to this huge tree that was a baobab tree. I'm not sure if you heard about the baobab tree.
It sounds familiar.
It's this huge tree that lives for hundreds of years, and it stays the same for the most part of its life. It gets to this size and then it stays, but it's a huge tree. And it was close by, to the place where this guy was fishing, this old guy. But then one day, the younger guy, shows up, and he also is, fishing somewhere close by, but he catches every day 20 to 30 fish. And this old guy is not even paying that much attention, but the young guy comes by this guy and he says hey, I have this new method of fishing, and if I just do this and this and this, and he starts talking about his method of fishing, and he says I catch 20 to 30 fish a day. And the old guy says, no, you don't need to explain to me how to fish. I've been doing this for 40, 50 years or whatever, and I know what I'm doing, and but he said, but you catch 2 to 3 fish. No, I know what I'm doing. I don't need you to explain anything to me. So the young guy turns around. He says, you see that baobab tree over there? He says, yes, I see it. It's 200 years old, but it's still baobab. It's never going to change. It's still going to be the same.
Yeah.
And the whole point is, if you don't, like you said, question yourself, think.
Evolve.
Think. And that's why one thing that I love is writing, because writing makes you think. It's so hard because makes you think. I believe that big part of thinking is actually questioning yourself, questioning your philosophies, your views on the world. Maybe what I'm doing is, maybe there's a more efficient, more effective way to do things. Maybe what I catch myself at work as well. What, I did this way today, and it was way faster than the way I've been doing it for a couple of years now. And I question myself, and a lot of times I catch myself, not even just I guess, how would you even call that? I think unlearning and learning takes more energy, but in a long run, it's more beneficial for you, especially when it comes to efficiency. But to take that energy, your brain, I feel like our brain, human brain is wired where, unless we push ourselves, we are going to go against, we are going to go, you're not going to go against, how do you call that?
We're like water. We're like water. We try to find the lowest point of death. We don't want any resistance. We want the
Yes,
easiest
exactly.
path.
We don't
Yeah.
the easiest path. That's what we want. But we might, if we are like water, like we may have to travel for thousands and thousands of miles longer, unless we go to that resistance path that is kind of taking us there faster. It's something I'm trying to make a good parallel here, but a good metaphor or
No,
something.
it's working.
But,
It's working. I'm with you, dude.
But no, I think that kind of inspired me to kind of talk about this.
No, that
Like I
tree.
butchered that baobab story a little bit, but
No, I think you did a great job. I think the baobab tree was that's a good parable. That's a good analogy, and it's one of those things that
you're
a
breaking up.
piece of me feels like I am humble enough to know if somebody I'm working
Oh, you're breaking up again.
with is, let's take your route. Let's go your route. Even sometimes when they're younger, that's not easy for a lot of people, and I feel like, it might be my internet too. I just got a notification saying my internet is unstable.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. I think it's probably something in the Charlotte area, man.
Yeah,
But
they're putting up 5G.
yeah.
Well, hey, dude, I think we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah. So one thing that I wanted to say before we wrap it up, I heard a theory on how this virus came by.
I love it.
Let's
hear
so
it.
apparently they set up the 5G in China, and it created this super bat that beat Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks got coronavirus, and now everyone has coronavirus. So it's a theory.
Yes. Hey, man. I like it. I don't know. There's a lot of conspiracies going around right now. A lot of them. People, which, rightfully so. The thing about conspiracies is it's kind of a way people lean on them to try to help fill in the gaps of misunderstanding and not knowing what's going on. And a piece of them deep inside wants the conspiracy to be true because it adds order to what seems like a chaotic situation.
Yep.
To think that other people have something in control and all of this is being planned out and strategized on. Some people hate that idea. They reject it. Other people gravitate towards it because it makes them feel like like I said, like there's some level of order.
Yep.
But right now, man, there are so many ideas going around. So much so that one of the podcasts, which I will leave you with this tonight.
Yeah.
One of the podcasts I watch is a podcast called London Real. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh yeah. That's a pretty good podcast.
Oh yeah, very popular. One of my favorite. And this one came on last night, and it came on live. YouTube shut it down. They tried to upload it. It was up for a second. YouTube took it off. And they finally got it up. And get this. Let me see. They finally got it up and running. I'll probably have to do it this way. And the only way that they could have it, maybe they changed it by now. At one point, the only way that they would allow to have it up is by erasing the title. And the only title was a period. Let's see. It looks like perhaps they might have fixed it by now. Yeah, so this podcast came up, and he goes into details about it. He talks about it a little bit as far as like, what his thoughts are behind 5G. And he's not the only guy. There's a Harvard scientist who talks about, I think he's Harvard 5G scientist. and what the 60 megahertz or something like that oxygen absorption rate. So apparently there is like a certain frequency of 5G that basically eats away the oxygen in your blood, right? And that's what people are afraid of. They're afraid of that. They're also afraid if you type in things like random birds dying. Have you been watching that at all?
I've heard of birds dying next to those towers.
Yeah.
5G towers, something like that.
Yeah, whole flocks of birds laying on the ground, just, and whether or not it's from, electromagnetic waves, it has people scared. And there's a lot of scientists who are trying to stop this, and people are rioting and burning down these 5G towers. It's a topic I think we should definitely maybe look into more. It's fun. Yeah. It's exciting.
That sounds epic. Burning down. It's like modern Don Quixote.
Dude,
fighting. Real. Fighting the windmills.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting too is I have a 5G amplifier in my bedroom.
You do?
Yeah.
So you are you should be dead by now, right? I'm joking.
I mean, no, I sat up in bed last night going, I wonder if having it's a mobile cell phone, it like amplifies my cell phone signal by making the cell phone signals around more like stronger.
Cool.
I don't know. I don't have a clue what it's doing, but the fact that it's so close to me at night for 8 hours has me a little worried. But I don't know, man. Let's dive into that topic a little bit more in the future. But I think we talked about a lot. We talked about Montepulciano, de Abruzzo, Chileggiolo. We talked about Raikkonen. We talked about Giuconoscia, Chateauneuf-du-Pape. We talked about Balkans. We talked about Iberian Peninsula, sports.
That's awesome. Yeah, we really covered a ton of topics. This is going to be an interesting title. Yeah.
Good luck with it.
let's use up a bunch of keywords.
Right. Just smash them into one word.
Awesome. Well, we'll talk again very soon.
Awesome, brother. Sounds good. This has been another episode of Quarantiners with Darko and Ben.
Yep.